Hello, my sleepy heads. It's good to have you back on History for Sleep. In the following minutes, you will experience a deep state of relaxation. This story helps you to easily sleep through the night, so you can get up energized in the morning. Not only will you fall asleep faster, you will also get rid of disturbing thoughts. Listen to these history stories for at least 10 days for the best results. The longer you listen the video, the more likely you'll experience persistent and positive changes in the way you sleep. I wish you a great rest, and if you haven't already, we'd be very happy if you consider subscribing to the channel so you won't miss any new calming and relaxing history story. Tonight, we're going to slowly journey back 2.4 million years into the dawn of humanity to a world where Homo Habilis, the handyman, first began shaping tools and survival itself. This was an age without fire, farming, or cities, just the vast wilderness, scattered groups of early humans, and the daily struggle to find enough to eat. We'll imagine how they rose each morning beneath the open sky, searching for roots, berries, and nuts, or scavenging the remains left by lions and hyenas. With only the simplest stone tools, they cracked bones for marrow, cut meat from carcasses, and learned, step by step, how to endure a world filled with danger. Over the next couple of hours, we'll walk alongside these ancestors, feeling their hunger, their caution, and their fragile hope. We'll see how community, instinct, and simple tools gave them just enough of an edge to survive another day. But before you get comfortable and let your mind drift into this ancient world, I'd love it if you could take a gentle moment to like this video and subscribe. Only if these calm stories of the past bring you peace. Your support truly helps me grow and keep making these calm journey through time just for you. And in the comments, let me know where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always so wonderful to see our little community listening together from all corners of the world, quietly sharing these stories across space and time. So, settle in, dim the light, maybe turn on the fan, take a slow breath, and together we'll step quietly into a world both raw and unforgettable. The first chapter of our human story. Now let's begin. Close your eyes and imagine drifting backward through time, not just by years or centuries, but by millions of years. We leave behind the noise of modern life, the glow of screens, and the weight of endless tasks. Instead, we travel to a world that feels untouched, wild, and open. The air is fresher, filled with the earthy scent of grass and damp soil. There are no cities, no roads, no walls. Only the endless horizon stretching in every direction. It is quiet, except for the soft rustle of wind through tall grasses and the distant cry of an animal echoing across the plain. This is the world of early humans, a place where life was simpler, though not easier, and where survival depended on instinct, cooperation, and a deep awareness of nature. As we begin this journey, allow yourself to breathe slowly, to let your thoughts settle, and to step gently into this ancient landscape. The world 2.4 million years ago was both dangerous and beautiful. Tall grasses waved across vast savannas. Rivers cut winding paths through the land, and forests stood dark and full of hidden life. Animals roamed freely, giant cats, early elephants, herds of antelope, and birds of every size. Among them lived small groups of humans, known today as Homo Habilis, the handyman. They were not like us in every way. Their bodies were smaller, their faces broader, and their lives more fragile. Yet, they carried within them the spark of what we would one day become. Each day was a test of endurance, a struggle to find food, shelter, and safety from the predators that prowled nearby. But there was also wonder, the simple joy of finding sweet berries, the relief of cool water on a hot day, the warmth of resting close to others at night. As we picture them, we step into a quieter, slower rhythm of existence. Life had no clocks or alarms then. The sun was the only guide, rising gently to mark the start of the day and sinking slowly to signal its close. For these early humans, time was not something measured but something lived. They rose when the light allowed, searched for food while the day was bright, and rested when darkness wrapped the land in silence. It was a life tied closely to nature's rhythm, a pace that feels distant to us now, but soothing to imagine. Without the rush of schedules, each moment was lived with attention, listening for sounds in the grass, scanning the horizon for movement, or carefully shaping a stone into a sharper edge. To drift back into their world is to remember a way of being that is calm, unhurried, and deeply connected to the earth itself. Picture a small group of them waking at dawn. The air is cool, carrying a thin mist that rises from the ground. Their breaths form faint clouds as they stretch and stir. Around them, the land begins to glow with pale light, slowly revealing shapes of trees, rocks, and distant hills. Birds call from the branches, their songs guiding the group into motion. With no words as we know them, communication comes through gestures, glances, and simple sounds. Perhaps one points toward a patch of shrubs, another toward the tracks of an animal in the soil. Together, they decide the direction of their day. There is no rush, no pressure of time, only the quiet determination to survive. It is a fragile existence, but in its slowness lies a kind of peace. A peace we can feel now as we let our minds wander through this morning long ago. The dangers were real, of course. Lions, leopards, and hyenas roamed the same lands. A rustle in the grass could mean food or death. But even in this uncertainty, early humans found strength in one another. They moved in groups, small but close, bound not just by survival, but by connection. Sitting together, sharing warmth at night, or gathering food side by side, they formed the beginnings of human community. It is calming to think of this closeness, the reassurance of others nearby, the simple comfort of knowing you are not alone. Even without speech, even without fire, there was care. Perhaps a parent reached out to guide a child's hand, or a companion shared a found fruit. These small gestures carried the seed of what we recognize as humanity, and in imagining them, we too can feel that gentle bond. a reminder of our shared beginnings. The tools of Homo habilis were simple yet transformative. Sharp flakes of stone, chipped with careful strikes, became extensions of their hands. With these tools, they could scrape meat from bones, crack them open for rich marrow, or slice through tough plants. The sound of stone striking stone would have echoed softly in the still air, a patient rhythm of creation. These tools were more than objects. They were hope. Each one meant a better chance at surviving the day, a step forward in the long journey of humanity. As we picture them working with focus and care, we might hear that faint tapping in our own imagination, steady and soothing, like a heartbeat from the past. In their world, food was never certain. Some days brought the sweetness of ripe berries, the crunch of gathered nuts, or the refreshing taste of roots pulled from the ground. Other days meant hunger, with only scraps left behind by predators to keep them alive. Yet even this act, scavenging, was a quiet triumph. Where lions or hyenas left a carcass, humans stepped in with their simple tools, taking what they could. It was not glorious, but it was survival. To imagine this is to feel both the fragility and resilience of early life. Each meal, no matter how small, was a gift, a reason to see another sunrise. In this thought, there is calm, the reminder that even in difficulty, life finds ways to continue. Water was another constant search. Rivers and streams were lifelines, offering not only drink but also places where animals gathered, making hunting or scavenging possible. Picture early humans walking slowly along a riverbank, their reflections trembling on the surface as the water flowed past. They kneeled to drink, cupping cool water in their hands, feeling its relief against the heat of the day. Around them, the world is alive. Fish darting beneath the surface, birds fluttering nearby, insects humming in the reeds. In this moment, the earth gives them what they need, and they pause in quiet gratitude before continuing their endless journey forward. At night, the world changed. Darkness wrapped around them like a heavy cloak, and the sounds of the wild grew sharper. Without fire, the night was deep, lit only by the pale light of the moon and the brilliance of countless stars. The sky must have felt infinite, stretching far beyond comprehension. Yet in this vastness, they found safety in closeness. Huddled together, they shared warmth, comfort, and protection. The night was a time for rest, but also for listening, for staying aware of every crack of a branch or distant growl. For us now, imagining this silence, this stillness broken only by nature's sounds, brings a sense of calm. We, too, can let go of the noise of our world and rest in that deep, timeless night. Though they lacked words, early humans had ways of sharing meaning. A gesture of a hand, the tilt of a head, or a soft sound carried understanding. Over time, these forms of expression would grow into the first steps of language, but even then, there was connection. Imagine a mother soothing her child with a gentle hum, or two companions signaling danger with a quick glance. These quiet forms of communication carried trust and unity. They remind us that human connection does not always need words, that presence, closeness, and care are enough. In thinking of this, we feel a softness within ourselves, a reminder that silence can also be full of meaning. Every day ended with uncertainty, but also with survival. If the group had eaten, if they had found water, if they had avoided predators, then the day was a success. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold, they would settle into the earth once more. The air cooled, shadows lengthened, and the first stars appeared. In these quiet hours, they lay close, drifting into sleep. Their dreams may have been simple, images of food, of movement, of the sky itself, but those dreams carried them into the next day. For us, imagining their rest is soothing, a reminder that sleep has always been humanity's refuge across every age of time. And so, as we drift back from their world into our own, we carry with us a sense of peace. Life 2.4 million years ago was harsh, but it was also simple, free from the rush and noise that fill our days. These early humans lived in rhythm with the earth, relying on one another, shaping simple tools, and taking each day as it came. To imagine them is to remember our roots, the fragile yet enduring spark of life that has carried us across the ages. As you rest now, allow yourself to feel that connection. Let the quiet rhythm of their world guide your breath, steady and calm. Drift with them into the night, knowing that the story of humanity is long, and that tonight you are resting within its first chapter. As we step further into the lives of early humans, we begin to see that every day was shaped by struggle. Unlike us, who can reach for food from a shelf or turn a tap for water, their survival meant constant searching. The moment they awoke, their minds and bodies turned toward the question of how to make it through another day. Hunger was an ever-present companion, not sharp and sudden as we know it, but a steady ache, reminding them of their fragile place in the world. The land offered food, but it never gave it freely. Each berry bush, each carcass left by predators, each root hidden in the soil came with effort, risk, or uncertainty. Their struggle was not dramatic, but steady, a quiet battle with nature, fought in silence, guided by instinct. And yet, in imagining this, we find a certain calm, for their focus was simple: survive the day, and the rest would follow. The struggle for food was constant, but it was also unpredictable. Some days brought small blessings, a patch of berries found glistening in the sun, or a fallen tree heavy with insects and grubs that offered unexpected nourishment. Other days stretched long and empty, with only the dry crunch of roots or scraps left behind after lions had eaten their fill. Each success was celebrated quietly, each failure endured with patience. Their bodies were lean, built for endurance, capable of walking long distances under the sun in search of even the smallest meal. Theirs was not a life of plenty, but of balance, always hovering between need and fulfillment. In this delicate dance, we see resilience, the strength to continue despite scarcity, to keep moving forward when the world seemed unforgiving. And in this image, there is also calm, the reminder that life can persist even in the hardest of conditions. Water, too, was never guaranteed. Streams could dry in the heat, rivers could shift their paths, and stagnant pools carried danger in every sip. To find clean water was both relief and risk for animals gathered at the same places, making them dangerous grounds for humans. Imagine a small group approaching a riverbank, scanning the brush for movement, ears alert for the growl of a predator. Only when the silence feels safe do they kneel, dipping their hands into the cool current. The water tastes fresh, filling their bodies with the strength to continue. For us, it is easy to forget the gift of water, always within reach. For them, each drink was life itself, a victory over thirst that could end a day early. Their struggle for water, as much as food, was a quiet reminder of how fragile survival could be. Shelter was another daily concern. Without homes, huts, or steady fires, early humans relied on the landscape itself for protection. A shallow cave, an overhanging rock, or a cluster of thick bushes could make the difference between a safe night and one filled with danger. Yet even these places carried risks. Snakes, leopards, or hyenas might also seek refuge in the same dark spaces. So the group had to stay cautious, moving often, never fully secure. Imagine them approaching a rocky outcrop, pausing, listening, testing the air before stepping inside. The cool shade offered rest, the stone walls a thin barrier against the wild. To us, such uncertainty might feel unsettling, but for them it was life itself. Their struggles made them alert, resourceful, and aware of every sound and shadow. And for us now, drifting into their story, it is soothing to picture the quiet patience with which they faced the unknown each day. Predators were everywhere, and humans were not at the top of the chain. Their small groups, slow speed, and lack of weapons made them vulnerable. A lion's roar in the distance, the sudden rustle of tall grass, or the shadow of a bird overhead could spark fear. Yet they survived by watching, by learning, by moving carefully through the land. Their eyes scanned constantly, their ears caught the smallest sounds, their bodies ready to retreat or climb when danger came close. This daily struggle was not about winning battles, but about avoiding them. To survive, they had to live with humility, slipping quietly through the world rather than trying to dominate it. As we imagine this, we too can feel a sense of humility, a reminder that strength is not always loud or forceful. It can also be quiet, cautious, and patient. Illness and injury added another layer of struggle. A simple cut from a sharp stone, an infection from a thorn, or the weakness of fever could be life-threatening. Without medicine, without healers, the body had to fight on its own. Perhaps others in the group cared for the sick, bringing small bits of food or water, sitting nearby in silent company. But survival was never certain. Each step, each climb carried risk. And yet, even in this, they endured. Their resilience was not in avoiding pain, but in continuing despite it. For us today, surrounded by medicines and comforts, it is humbling to imagine their strength. Their daily struggle against illness and injury reminds us that survival has always been fragile, and that every life carried forward was an achievement in itself. Weather, too, was an unpredictable force. The sun could burn fiercely across the savanna, leaving them weary and parched. Rains could drench them, soaking their thin coverings of animal hide or plant fiber, chilling their bodies. Storms brought thunder that shook the air, lightning that split the sky, and winds that bent trees low. Unlike us, they had no shelter to retreat to, no roof to block the storm. They endured it beneath trees, pressed together for warmth, waiting for the skies to calm. And when the storm passed, the land was fresh again. Streams filled, plants grew, animals returned. This rhythm of hardship and renewal shaped their lives. It teaches us, too, that struggle and relief are woven together, that storms give way to calm, and that life endures through both. Even in their struggles, early humans found moments of rest and wonder. The sight of a sunrise spreading light across the plains, the cool shade of a tree at midday, the quiet hum of insects at dusk, these were gifts in a hard life. Perhaps they paused at times to watch animals grazing, to listen to the songs of birds, or to feel the breeze against their skin. These moments did not remove their struggles, but they offered balance, small reminders of beauty in a difficult world. In our own lives, we too can learn from this balance, that even when challenges surround us, there is still space to notice the gentle things, the calming details that carry us forward. Their struggles were also shared, never faced alone. A single person could not survive, but a group could. They gathered food together, watched for predators together, and cared for one another in times of need. Imagine them moving across the land in a small cluster, children held close, elders walking slowly but steadily, younger ones leading the way. Each had a role, however simple, in the quiet work of survival. In this togetherness lay their greatest strength. The struggles of the day were heavy, but they were carried on many shoulders, not just one. For us now, drifting in thought, it is calming to remember that humans have always leaned on each other, that our survival has always been tied to community. The mind, too, faced struggles. Without the safety of walls or the certainty of food, fear was constant. Each night brought shadows. Each sound in the dark carried questions. Was it wind, or was it danger? Yet fear itself became a guide. It sharpened their senses, made them careful, taught them when to move and when to hide. Over time, this fear shaped instincts that still live within us, hidden beneath the layers of modern life. When we feel unease in the dark, or when sudden sounds startle us, we are echoing the same survival awareness that kept them alive. Their mental struggles remind us that even fear, when balanced, has purpose. Every struggle they faced, food, water, shelter, predators, illness, weather, and fear, became part of their rhythm of life. It was not a life free of hardship, but it was a life lived fully in each moment. They could not plan far ahead, nor waste time on what could not be changed. Each day was about the present, finding what was needed, enduring what could not be avoided, and resting when the day was done. In this way, their struggles shaped them into survivors, carrying the spark of humanity forward. And as we imagine them now, we find not despair but calm admiration, for their strength was quiet, their victories small but meaningful, and their lives fragile yet enduring. As we drift back from their daily struggles, we see them not as victims of a harsh world, but as the first travelers on a long human path. Every struggle they endured carried us here, across the span of millions of years. Their hunger, their thirst, their caution in the night, all of it was survival, and survival was enough. To picture them now, we can rest in the thought that humanity has always faced struggles, but always found a way forward. Their lives, though hard, remind us that endurance is possible, that even in difficulty there is continuity, and that each day survived was a quiet triumph. And as we lie back now, breathing slowly, letting sleep come gently, we share in their rhythm, the rhythm of facing the day, enduring the struggle, and finally resting beneath the endless sky. When we drift further into the world of early humans, one of the clearest signs of change is found in their hands. These hands, not so different from ours, began to shape the first tools, simple stones chipped into sharp edges, flakes that could cut, and cores that could hammer. The name Homo Habilis means handyman, and it was given because of this remarkable skill. A stone tool may seem small compared to the machines we use today, but for them it was revolutionary. It turned bare hands into stronger instruments, able to slice through meat, crack open bones for marrow, or strip bark from a branch. Imagine the sound of stone striking stone, soft but steady, echoing under the open sky. Each strike was both effort and hope, a hope that survival might be a little easier. These tools were not only objects, they were extensions of thought, signs of a mind reaching forward into possibility. Gathering was the most dependable skill. Roots, berries, nuts, and fruits formed the heart of their diet, and finding them required knowledge of the land. Which plants could be eaten safely? Which ones carried bitterness or danger? These questions shaped their steps each day. Picture a small group moving slowly through tall grass, stopping to study leaves, plucking berries carefully, tasting them with cautious lips. The rhythm of gathering was patient and calm, guided by observation and memory. A patch of edible roots discovered one season might still be there the next, becoming part of their map of survival. In this way, early humans were not only wanderers, but learners, slowly building a sense of the world around them. Their gathering was a quiet art, one that turned the vast wilderness into a home filled with hidden gifts. Hunting was less certain, but it was part of their growing skill. At this stage, humans were not yet the powerful hunters we imagine later in history. They lacked spears, bows, or traps. Instead, they relied on patience, timing, and courage. Sometimes they may have thrown stones or used simple sticks, but more often, they waited for opportunities. A predator might leave behind a half-eaten carcass, and humans, with sharp tools, stepped in to take the rest. In other cases, they worked together to corner small animals, chasing them toward rocks or thick brush where escape was difficult. The act of hunting was dangerous, but it also brought moments of triumph. Each successful catch meant nourishment, strength, and relief. Even small victories, a rabbit, a bird, or a lizard, were worth the effort. Hunting, though uncertain, showed their willingness to push beyond instinct and experiment with skill. One of the most remarkable achievements of early humans was learning to use stone not only for cutting, but also for shaping other materials. With sharp flakes, they could scrape hides from animals, making them softer and easier to use as coverings against the wind or the coolness of the night. They could smooth sticks into digging tools, or sharpen points for probing into the soil in search of roots. This slow shaping of the world with tools marked the beginning of something new. Culture, the passing down of techniques. A child watching an elder strike stone against stone learned not just the sound, but the rhythm, the pattern, the intention behind each blow. These lessons turned into habits, and habits into traditions. Tools became more than survival aids. They became bridges, linking one generation to the next through skill and memory. The act of scavenging also shaped their daily life. Large predators, lions, leopards, hyenas, often killed animals, but they did not always finish their meals. Early humans watched, waited, and approached carefully once the danger had passed. Imagine them moving slowly, hearts racing, as they drew near to a carcass that still offered flesh and marrow. With sharp-edged stones, they cut strips of meat, pulled sinew, and cracked heavy bones with hammerstones to reach the rich marrow inside. This was risky, for predators might return at any moment. Yet it provided nourishment richer than roots or berries, full of energy for long days of movement. Scavenging was not weakness. It was wisdom, a recognition that survival often comes not from strength alone, but from timing, patience, and seizing chances when they appear. Marrow, hidden deep inside bones, became a precious source of life. To us, the idea may seem unusual, but for early humans it was a prize worth effort. The fat and nutrients inside gave warmth, energy, and resilience. Picture the sound of stone striking bone, the dull thud, then the crack as it split open. Children might watch with wide eyes as adults passed around pieces, each dipping fingers into the hollow center. Eating marrow was not only about survival, it was also about sharing. A single carcass, found or hunted, nourished many, drawing the group together. Around the taste of marrow, they strengthened not just bodies but bonds, a sense that they were more than individuals wandering alone. They were a community, bound by food, by tools, and by the knowledge that together they stood a greater chance of living another day. Gathering plants, though less dramatic, carried its own deep importance. Knowledge of which roots to dig, which fruits ripened at what time, and which nuts were safe gave them steady food through the seasons. Women and men alike took part in this, moving slowly through familiar places, eyes scanning for signs of growth. Children followed, learning silently as they watched hands pull leaves or break open pots. The rhythm of gathering was calm, almost meditative, a daily return to the land that fed them. There were dangers too. Some plants carried poisons, others caused sickness. But through trial, memory, and shared wisdom, they built a growing knowledge. Each successful find reduced hunger, added security, and deepened their connection with the earth. In this way, gathering was not just survival. It was a gentle dialogue with nature, an agreement between land and people. We might imagine hunting scenes filled with tension, but often they were long hours of watching, waiting, and walking. Small groups moved quietly, scanning the horizon, listening for rustling grass or sudden flight of birds that hinted at nearby prey. The hunt required silence, patience, and coordination. Even if the result was often failure, the process itself sharpened their senses, teaching them to read the language of the landscape, the bent stalk, the faint track, the smell of animals carried on the wind. Success, when it came, was celebrated. The capture of even a small antelope or wild pig was not just food, but proof of their growing skill. Each hunt added to their courage and their sense of identity as beings who could act, plan, and alter the world through effort and thought. The simple tools they carried were more than objects. They were companions of survival. A sharp flake might be used for many tasks: cutting meat, shaping wood, or defending against sudden threats. A hammerstone served as both toolmaker and bone breaker. These objects, small enough to carry in the hand, gave security to lives that were otherwise uncertain. Picture a pouch or bundle with a few sharp stones, always ready, kept close by as they moved from one place to another. Each tool carried a story: where it was made, how it was used, who taught the skill. In this way, the tools were not only physical aids, but also symbols of identity, reminders of ingenuity, and quiet witnesses to their unfolding journey as humans. The making of tools also shaped their minds. Striking stone against stone required foresight, the ability to imagine the edge before it existed, to see within the rock a hidden shape. This was more than instinct. It was planning, visualization, and patience. With every blow, they learned that thought could change reality. That small spark of creativity, choosing where to strike, how hard, at what angle, was the beginning of innovation. It meant that survival was no longer just about reacting to nature, but about shaping it. The chipped edges of stone were like the first steps of art, the first signs that humans were not merely creatures in a world, but creators within it. And in that slow rhythm of shaping stone, they shaped themselves as well. Food and tools together built rhythms of daily life. A day might begin with gathering, move into a cautious hunt, and end with the sharing of meat or roots by fireless camp. Each activity required energy, cooperation, and skill, but also gave back strength in return. These rhythms were steady, repeated over countless generations, and they gave early humans both structure and meaning. The land was their teacher, and every day was a lesson written in stone, in tracks, in the taste of berries, in the cracking of bones. Survival was never guaranteed, yet it was possible because of what they carried in their hands and minds. The first tools and the first skills of food gathering were the seeds from which all later human achievements grew. As we drift with them in imagination, we sense the quiet determination in their lives. They were fragile in body, surrounded by greater beasts, yet with stone in hand and knowledge in mind, they began to tilt the balance of life. Tools gave them edges of possibility. Hunting and gathering gave them nourishment and connection. These simple acts, repeated day after day, were not only about survival. They were the first steps on a path that would lead to everything we know today. And as the sun set on their world, painting the sky in fading light, they rested with tools close by and food shared among them. In their humble beginnings lay the quiet foundation of humanity, a foundation built not in sudden leaps, but in small, patient, and determined steps. Long before humans learned to tame fire, they lived in a world where flames were both a mystery and a threat. Imagine the endless plains or scattered woodlands, darkening with nightfall, and suddenly the horizon glows with orange light. A tree struck by lightning, dry grass catching in a blaze, the crackle of branches snapping in heat. For early humans, such a sight was both terrifying and mesmerizing. The flames roared, hot and untouchable, spreading in unpredictable patterns. They could not step too close, for the heat would singe their skin and the smoke would choke their lungs. Yet they could not look away either, for fire carried power unlike anything else in their world. It gave light against darkness, warmth against cold, and protection from beasts, if only it could be approached. At this stage, however, fire was not theirs to command. It was a visitor, a fleeting presence in their lives, one they could only watch from a distance. On nights after storms, small groups may have lingered near the charred remains of burned trees. The ground was blackened, ash soft beneath their feet, and sometimes glowing embers still smoldered faintly. They learned to move carefully around such places, drawn by curiosity but cautious of danger. Perhaps they noticed that animals, too, avoided the hot ground, retreating far from the burn. This made the area strangely safe, a rare place where predators did not linger. The warmth of lingering heat might have drawn them to sit at the edges, feeling its comfort even while fearing the flames that had created it. In these moments, fire became something more than destruction. It became a hint of possibility. But the idea of capturing it, carrying it, keeping it alive, was still far beyond their reach. For now, fire remained a passing force of nature, visiting and vanishing, leaving behind only smoke and memory. There may have been times when the bravest among them crept closer to fire's edges, picking up sticks charred black at their tips. Some may have discovered, quite by accident, that roasted seeds or nuts cracked open more easily, or that scorched roots tasted softer. Perhaps scraps of meat left near a burned patch smelled different, richer, more inviting. These were the earliest hints of what fire might one day become. Not only warmth and light, but also a new way to change food itself. Still, such discoveries were fleeting. Without a way to hold fire, without the knowledge to feed its hunger, these moments vanished as quickly as sparks in the wind. Fire was like a wild animal, untamed and free, appearing and disappearing according to nature's will. And yet, even then, it was shaping human imagination, planting seeds of desire that one day would grow into mastery. Fire was a teacher, though an unpredictable one. Its warmth was inviting, yet its power demanded respect. Early humans may have observed that a single spark could grow into a dangerous blaze, consuming everything in its path. Trees, grass, and even the land itself could be reshaped in an instant. Yet from this caution, they learned lessons about patience and timing. They might sit at the edge of a burn, feeling the last heat of embers under their hands, noticing how quickly it faded. In these quiet moments, they began to understand that fire was alive in its own way, needing attention, respect, and careful observation. Though they could not yet carry it or control it, it offered insight into the delicate balance between danger and benefit, a balance that would define human life for millions of years. At times, the glow of distant flames may have guided them. Perhaps a lightning strike set the grassland alight in the far distance, and the group watched from afar, noting the wind's direction, the speed of the fire, and how animals scattered in panic. This became an opportunity for both caution and learning. They may have gathered some of the scorched wood or embers that remained after the fire had passed, cautiously testing their warmth and strength. Even a single glowing ember could provide warmth on a cold night, though its life was fleeting. Each encounter left an imprint on their minds, a memory that fire could be used, respected, and eventually controlled. Though mastery was not yet possible, the experience planted the earliest seeds of curiosity, the spark of ingenuity that would one day change the course of human life. Fire also affected their sense of community. The flicker of distant flames, the smoke curling upward from burned patches, may have drawn groups together. Around these edges, they could sit in quiet companionship, feeling the comfort of shared presence. Even without controlling the flames, they recognized that being near warmth and light was soothing, reducing the ever-present tension of a world filled with predators. They learned to huddle together, sharing body heat as they rested, and to watch one another as they explored fire's reach. In these moments, fire became more than natural phenomenon. It became a shared experience, a force that connected humans to one another. The embers of a burned tree or the glow from distant flames were quiet teachers, guiding early humans toward cooperation, observation, and respect for the natural world. Nightfall brought the most vivid lessons about fire's potential. Darkness stretched across the land, deep and endless, and every sound, rustling grass, distant calls of animals, carried heightened meaning. In this darkness, the distant flicker of fire could be seen from afar, a mysterious glow that offered both comfort and fascination. Early humans may have crept closer to embers left by nature's hand, feeling their warmth on chilled skin. Even a small glow reduced the fear of unseen predators, allowing the mind a rare moment of rest. Fire, though untamed, provided a kind of sanctuary. It reminded them that even the wildest, most unpredictable forces could offer life when approached with caution and respect. These quiet interactions shaped not only survival strategies, but also the beginnings of human imagination and ingenuity. Food and fire began a subtle, silent connection. When early humans placed roots, nuts, or even small scraps of meat near a dying ember, they may have noticed a change, softened texture, sweeter taste, or easier chewing. Though they could not yet maintain fire, these accidental experiments revealed possibilities that would be pursued for millennia. A simple observation, like noticing that heat changed the flavor or texture of food, carried enormous significance. It was the first step toward cooking, a skill that would transform human nutrition, health, and community. The careful patience required to experiment, even at a small scale, taught them that survival could be enhanced by thought and creativity. In the flickering glow of natural fire, early humans glimpsed a future where they would not only respond to the world, but shape it with knowledge and skill. Fire also shaped human perception of danger and safety. Predators avoided open flames, giving humans a small advantage even when they could not control the fire fully. Sitting near a warm, smoldering patch, the group could feel a sense of security that was otherwise rare in a predator-filled world. Darkness no longer carried only fear. It carried the faint reassurance of glow and heat. These moments allowed early humans to rest, conserve energy, and gather strength for the next day. They learned, slowly, that fire was not merely destructive, but a force that could protect, soothe, and provide light in the blackness. Even before mastery, fire influenced the rhythm of life, shaping movement, rest, and the quiet patterns of early human communities. Over time, repeated encounters with fire taught early humans patience and respect. They began to notice subtle patterns, which way smoke drifted, how quickly embers cooled, and which materials burned fastest. Every observation added to their growing understanding of the world. Even without the ability to ignite flames at will, they learned to anticipate and prepare, recognizing that fire could be a companion rather than a threat if approached with care. This slow accumulation of knowledge, built from countless cautious interactions, laid the foundation for one of humanity's most transformative achievements. Fire became not just a natural occurrence, but a concept, a force that could be understood, awaited, and, one day, controlled. Fire also shaped social bonds and shared experience. Around glowing embers or scorched patches, groups sat together, listening to one another, watching and learning. Children absorbed lessons silently. Elders demonstrated caution, and the collective wisdom of the group grew. Even the smallest flame offered warmth, light, and a reason to gather. In this way, Fire became intertwined with human connection long before it became a tool. The flicker of heat against the night sky may have inspired awe, comfort, and the beginnings of storytelling. Though untamed, fire already played a quiet role in shaping community, teaching cooperation, and fostering the earliest instincts of cultural life. As we drift back from this world of untamed flames, we recognize the quiet power of what fire represents. It was not yet mastered, not yet a tool, not yet a promise of cooked food or protection, but it was already shaping humans' perception, curiosity, and rhythm of life. Every cautious approach, every glowing ember observed, planted seeds for the eventual mastery of fire, a mastery that would forever alter the human journey. And now, as we close our eyes and let these stories settle in the mind, we can imagine sitting beside a faintly glowing patch, feeling warmth against the chill of night, hearing the whisper of wind through trees, and resting with the understanding that even the wildest forces, when approached with patience and respect, can become guides on the path of life. As we drift deeper into the lives of early humans, we find that the search for food defined almost every waking moment. The land was generous, yet never predictable. Berries hung in small clusters, roots hid beneath the soil, and seeds dotted the earth in quiet abundance. But finding them required patience, observation, and gentle movement. Early humans walked slowly, eyes scanning the ground and brush, listening to subtle sounds, smelling the air for hints of ripeness. Each plant discovered, each edible root dug from the soil, was a small victory, a gift from the world earned through attentiveness. The act of gathering was not hurried. It was deliberate and calm, a quiet rhythm in their daily lives that connected them to the land and to one another. Foraging was more than a physical task. It was also a learning process. Each plant had its season, each root its depth, each berry its unique ripening time. A mistake could mean a bitter taste or a mild illness, while careful observation ensured nourishment and safety. Children likely followed adults, learning through sight, sound, and touch. They memorized locations, shapes, and smells, slowly building a mental map of what the land offered. These small lessons formed the foundation of knowledge that would be passed down from one group to the next, generation after generation. In this way, the simple act of searching for food became a gentle teacher, shaping not only the body but also the mind. The rhythm of gathering also encouraged patience and mindfulness. There was no rush, no urgency beyond the awareness of hunger. Each discovery, a small patch of tubers, a cluster of fruit, was savored, noted, and sometimes shared quietly among the group. The act itself was calming, a meditation of movement and observation. Even the smallest details, a soft rustle of leaves, the glint of sunlight on a ripe berry, carried significance. These moments, repeated countless times, built a steady pace to the day, a sense of harmony with the surrounding environment. It was through these repeated rhythms of search and collection that early humans not only survived, but also developed a deep connection to the natural world. The landscape itself became a guide for their foraging. Early humans learned to read subtle signs. The curve of a hill that might hide edible roots, the color of leaves that indicated ripeness, or the tracks of animals that hinted at where fruits or nuts had fallen. Every step taken was an act of observation, and every discovery was reinforced by memory. Walking slowly and attentively, they connected with the rhythms of the seasons, the gentle flow of streams, and the movement of the wind through tall grasses. Each day became a dialogue with the land, teaching respect for its gifts and patience for its unpredictability. In this quiet interaction, there was both purpose and peace, a balance between effort and observation, between need and understanding. Foraging also shaped social dynamics within early groups. Gathering was often a cooperative activity, with members sharing knowledge about what was safe and where it might be found. Adults taught children the subtle differences between edible and inedible plants, between nourishing roots and bitter or toxic ones. The act of sharing discoveries strengthened bonds, creating a quiet rhythm of trust and interdependence. Even a small handful of nuts or berries carried more than sustenance. It carried reassurance, a sense of belonging, and the gentle knowledge that each member was contributing to the well-being of the whole group. In this way, the search for food was not only a physical activity, but also a deeply social one, nurturing both body and connection. The passage of time during foraging was measured in observation rather than urgency. Hours could pass with hands in soil or brushing aside leaves, searching for small, hidden treasures. The repetition of these movements brought a kind of meditation, a calm rhythm that mirrored the slow movement of clouds or the steady ripple of a stream. There was quiet joy in discovery. A cluster of soft berries, the sweet scent of a root freshly unearthed, or the glimmer of seeds nestled in their pods. These small triumphs reminded early humans that even in a world of uncertainty, careful attention and patience yielded rewards. The act of gathering became not just survival, but a quiet communion with the land, a gentle, almost sacred rhythm in a harsh and demanding world. Seasonal changes guided their foraging patterns. Spring brought tender shoots and fresh greens. Summer offered ripening fruits and sweet berries, while autumn yielded nuts and tubers hidden beneath fallen leaves. Early humans learned to recognize these shifts, moving across the land with careful timing. Each season carried new challenges and new rewards, teaching patience and foresight. Even in scarcity, there was understanding. When one patch of land offered little, another might be more generous. This awareness of the natural calendar allowed them to plan, to balance effort and reward, and to survive where others might struggle. Through repetition and observation, the rhythm of the seasons became embedded in their lives, a quiet, enduring guide for movement, search, and sustenance. Gathering required careful hands and keen eyes. Roots needed gentle digging to avoid breaking them. Berries needed plucking at the right moment to ensure ripeness, and seeds had to be collected without damaging the next generation of plants. Every action demanded attention and precision. Children learned by imitation, observing elders' movements and gradually practicing under watchful guidance. This slow accumulation of skill formed the foundation of practical knowledge that would be shared across generations. The rhythm of hands moving through soil and leaves, of eyes scanning the landscape, became a meditative cadence. It was work, but it was calm, steady, and purposeful, a practice that connected them to the earth in a way that modern life rarely allows. Even small rewards could bring relief and joy. A handful of berries, a cluster of nuts, or a freshly dug root meant more than nourishment. It meant hope, comfort, and reassurance. Sharing these findings strengthened bonds within the group, reinforcing a sense of community and interdependence. Each member contributed to the well-being of the whole, whether through discovery, teaching, or support. In this way, foraging was not only survival, it was a social rhythm, a pattern of care and trust that allowed humans to endure and thrive. The land became a teacher, and the act of gathering a practice of patience, observation, and gentle cooperation. The act of foraging also fostered problem-solving and creativity. Not all food was easy to reach. Some berries grew on thorny bushes, roots hid under dense soil, and nuts were often trapped inside hard shells. Early humans learned to use simple tools, sticks, stones, or even sharp-edged bones, to access these hidden treasures. Each challenge met and overcome added to their growing understanding of the environment. The process of thinking through a problem, experimenting carefully, and discovering solutions strengthened both mind and body. In this quiet, steady work, humans shaped not just their survival, but their intelligence, developing skills that would ripple across generations, preparing them for more complex innovations in the future. Foraging was also a lesson in humility and patience. Nature did not always yield what was hoped for, and scarcity was part of life. Yet, even in times of limited reward, early humans learned to adapt, moving to new areas, exploring unfamiliar terrain, and observing patterns in the land that hinted at where food might be found. Every day carried uncertainty, yet the repeated acts of searching and gathering built resilience and endurance. In this rhythm of effort and reward, humans learned one of their most valuable skills: the ability to persist gently, calmly, and attentively, even when the world seemed indifferent. It was a meditation on life itself, shaping not just bodies and minds, but character. As we drift back from this world of quiet observation and patient movement, we can imagine the gentle rhythm of foraging filling the day. Hands in soil, eyes scanning for berries, careful footsteps across the land. All of it a slow, deliberate dance with nature. Early humans moved not only to survive, but to learn, to teach, and to share. Each day spent gathering connected them more deeply to the earth, to each other, and to the subtle, enduring patterns of life. And now, as we rest in thought, letting sleep come slowly, we can carry with us the calm rhythm of those long-ago days. The soft rustle of leaves, the gentle crunch of roots, and the quiet satisfaction of discovery earned through patience, care, and quiet attention. As the sun stretches low and shadows lengthen across the landscape, early humans often found themselves in a delicate balance between hunger and caution. The search for meat was not the dramatic hunt we might imagine, but a quiet, careful act of scavenging. Large predators, lions, leopards, and hyenas, claimed the strongest animals, leaving behind remnants for those wise enough to wait. Approaching these leftovers required patience, careful observation, and a keen understanding of danger. Every rustle of grass, every distant roar carried meaning. The skill of moving quietly, reading the land, and sensing when it was safe to approach became essential for survival. In this rhythm of cautious movement, early humans learned lessons that would echo through generations. Patience, timing, and respect for forces larger than themselves. Tools were their companions in this endeavor. Simple stones, shaped into sharp flakes, could cut strips of meat or break bones to access marrow hidden deep within. A sturdy stick could test the ground or prod a carcass, while a hammerstone cracked bones to release rich nutrients. These tools, humble in appearance, transformed the act of scavenging from risky necessity into a manageable skill. Imagine hands moving deliberately, stone meeting bone with a dull, steady sound, while eyes continually scan the surrounding area. Each action was cautious, deliberate, and calm, a quiet practice honed by repetition and observation. Through these interactions, early humans became not only survivors, but also problem solvers, learning to turn danger into opportunity without unnecessary risk. The environment itself guided their choices. Tracks in the soil, broken branches, and disturbed grass revealed not only where predators had been, but also where edible remains might be found. Wind direction carried scents that hinted at nearby carcasses, while distant calls of birds suggested life or death in the terrain. Early humans learned to read these signs with patience and attention, interpreting subtle clues to avoid danger and maximize reward. Each step taken in this cautious dance was a quiet meditation on the balance between hunger and safety, a slow rhythm that shaped both body and mind. In this way, scavenging became more than survival. It became a practice of observation, reflection, and gentle connection with the untamed world. Scavenging required courage, but it was guided by knowledge and cooperation. Small groups often moved together, each member alert to signs of predators or other threats. One might scan the horizon while another examined a carcass, stones, and sticks at the ready. Even a subtle snap of a twig could send the group into careful stillness, hearts beating in quiet rhythm. These moments, though tense, were not frantic. They were exercises in patience, coordination, and trust. Through repeated experiences, early humans learned not only to survive, but to work together, sharing insights and responsibilities. Each successful scavenging trip reinforced the delicate balance of courage, caution, and community that defined their lives. The meat itself carried a deep reward beyond mere nutrition. Strips of flesh, torn carefully from bones, offered energy for long days of walking and gathering. Marrow, rich and fatty, became a prize hidden within hard, cracked bones. Extracting it required skill, focus, and the right tools, but the payoff was immense. Imagine the quiet satisfaction as a hand presses a sharp flake into a thick bone, slowly levering out the hidden sustenance. Eating in this context was not hurried. It was mindful, deliberate, and shared. The act of scavenging and consuming meat brought both strength and calm, a rhythm that shaped their physical and social lives alike. Even in scavenging, danger was never far away. Predators could return at any moment, and the risk of injury or failure was real. Yet early humans adapted, learning subtle strategies, approaching only when the wind carried scent safely away, leaving one member behind to keep watch, or retreating quietly when necessary. This awareness taught patience, timing, and respect for the natural world. The interplay of threat and reward became a teacher in itself. Each cautious step, each measured movement, instilled a sense of rhythm in daily life, blending survival with careful observation. In this way, scavenging was not just a matter of food. It was a meditation on balance, danger, and skill. Scavenging also shaped the early human mind in subtle ways. Each encounter with a carcass required problem solving. How to extract the meat without attracting predators? Which bones contain the most valuable marrow? Which tools would work best in each situation? These decisions were made quietly, deliberately, through observation and trial. Over time, this practice honed foresight, patience, and the ability to anticipate consequences. The act of scavenging was not only about nourishment. It was also a teacher of critical thinking, planning, and careful attention to detail. In the slow rhythm of study and action, early humans cultivated skills that would one day support more complex hunting strategies, tool-making, and even social organization. Social bonds were reinforced during scavenging, sharing meat, offering advice on approaching a carcass, or teaching children which tools were best for cracking bones created subtle but profound connections. Cooperation was not forced. It emerged naturally because survival depended on it. The group learned to trust each other, to communicate with gestures and glances, and to coordinate movements silently. Even in the tension of danger, there was a quiet sense of belonging. Every successful extraction, every shared morsel, strengthened ties that allowed early humans to endure not just individual risks, but the challenges of an untamed, predator-filled world. The quiet observation of predators became part of the rhythm of scavenging. Watching a lion drag its prey, listening to the distant growl of hyenas, early humans learned about behavior, timing, and territorial boundaries. They understood when to approach and when to wait, when to retreat and when to stay. This careful attention created a subtle dialogue with the wild, a patient and respectful interaction. In the process, they developed instincts that were guided by experience, observation, and a slow understanding of the natural world. The interplay of danger and opportunity became a daily lesson, shaping not only survival strategies, but also perception, caution, and resilience. Over time, scavenging taught early humans subtle lessons about timing and efficiency. Not every carcass could be approached, and not every piece of meat could be retrieved. Yet even partial success added nourishment and experience. They learned to prioritize, choosing which bones held the richest marrow, which remnants were safe, and when to move on. This quiet discernment shaped both their bodies and minds, fostering patience and mindfulness. Every careful decision, every measured approach, contributed to a growing wisdom that allowed early humans to navigate a dangerous world with quiet confidence. The practice of scavenging also reinforced observation skills that extended beyond food. Tracking footprints, listening to distant calls, and noticing subtle signs in the environment became part of daily life. These skills were not learned in haste. They were cultivated slowly, through repetition and attention. Each day brought new lessons, small discoveries that added to the collective knowledge of the group. In this way, scavenging was not just about survival. It was a form of meditation, a calm, deliberate engagement with the world that shaped perception, patience, and understanding over time. As we drift back from this world of careful steps and cautious eyes, we can imagine early humans moving quietly across the landscape, stones in hand, scanning for remnants of life and nourishment. The balance of danger and reward guided their actions, while cooperation, observation, and skill ensured survival. In the flickering shadows of dusk or dawn, each careful step and shared morsel strengthened both body and mind. Scavenging was a quiet rhythm of life, a slow dance with the wild that taught patience, ingenuity, and respect. And now, as we rest and let sleep take hold, we carry with us the gentle lesson of their world, that even in uncertainty and danger, careful attention, cooperation, and calm perseverance can guide the way. In the quiet world of early humans, life was never meant to be lived alone. Survival depended not only on individual skill, but on the bonds that tied a group together. Moving through forests, plains, and river valleys, humans discovered that companionship offered safety, warmth, and knowledge. Living together allowed them to share food, watch for predators, and pass down lessons from one generation to the next. Every shared discovery, every cautious step taken with a companion nearby, strengthened trust and understanding. Even in moments of silence, the presence of others provided comfort, a reminder that no one faced the uncertainty of the wild entirely alone. Cooperation was a subtle rhythm, woven into the very structure of daily life. While some gathered roots or berries, others remained alert to movement in the distance. When food was found, it was shared, not hoarded, creating quiet bonds of reciprocity. Children learned by watching adults, absorbing the delicate interplay of actions and reactions, gestures, and signals. This slow process of observation and imitation built a foundation of knowledge that extended beyond survival. It nurtured empathy, understanding, and a sense of belonging. In the calm rhythm of communal life, early humans discovered that their strength was multiplied when they acted together rather than alone. Living together also meant learning to navigate social dynamics. Even small groups required cooperation, negotiation, and subtle forms of communication. Decisions about movement, food distribution, and resting places were made collectively, often guided by the wisdom of elders or the instincts of experienced members. These choices were never hurried. They were the result of careful observation, quiet discussion, and a shared understanding of what was safest and most beneficial for all. Through these interactions, early humans built the first social structures, gently shaping the patterns of community life that would endure for thousands of years. Community life also shaped daily routines. Tasks were divided naturally, guided by skill, experience, and need. Some would gather food while others maintained watch, and everyone contributed in ways that supported the group's survival. Even simple acts, passing a berry, helping to dig a root, or alerting others to distant movement, reinforced the quiet rhythm of cooperation. These actions were not forced or hurried. They emerged organically, a dance of trust and shared purpose. In this steady flow of contribution, humans found reassurance, knowing that their efforts, however small, mattered to the well-being of all. Children absorbed lessons not only from observation, but also from participation. They mimicked the movements of elders, learning how to gather, carry, and share resources. Through repetition, guidance, and gentle correction, they developed the skills necessary for survival. This process was slow and deliberate, much like the passing of sunlight across the land or the steady flow of a river. It was during these formative moments that early humans cultivated cooperation, empathy, and patience, traits that would serve not only the individual, but the entire community. Each small interaction, each lesson learned, contributed to a strong and harmonious group life. Safety was another quiet benefit of living together. Predators and environmental dangers were ever present, and no individual could respond to every threat alone. Together, early humans developed an intricate system of vigilance. Some watched the horizon, some listened for subtle sounds, and others remained attentive to shifting signs in the environment. Even the simple act of sleeping near companions offered protection and reassurance. Through these coordinated efforts, humans experienced a sense of calm and confidence, knowing that the presence of others could amplify their own abilities and reduce risk in ways that solitude never could. Communication, though simple, played a crucial role in early communities. Gestures, facial expressions, and soft sounds conveyed warnings, instructions, or reassurance. Over time, these subtle signals became a shared language, understood intuitively by each member of the group. A slight tilt of the head, a pointing finger, or a whispered sound could indicate danger, the location of food, or a request for help. In these quiet exchanges, humans learned to synchronize their actions, coordinate their movements, and build trust without words. The rhythm of cooperation flowed naturally, a silent harmony that allowed the group to navigate the world safely and efficiently. Sharing resources reinforced bonds in profound ways. When food was found, it was rarely kept solely for oneself. Nuts, berries, or a small portion of meat were passed gently from hand to hand, a silent acknowledgement that survival was interconnected. This sharing created not only nourishment, but reassurance, trust, and stability within the group. Each act of generosity, however small, strengthened relationships and reinforced the rhythm of communal life. The quiet knowledge that one could rely on others, and that one's efforts also supported the group, became a foundation of human resilience and calm. Cooperation also encouraged careful observation of each other's strengths and weaknesses. Some were stronger, faster, or more experienced. Others excelled at noticing subtle signs in the environment. By recognizing these abilities, early humans assigned roles that suited each member, maximizing efficiency and safety. This gentle alignment of talents ensured that everyone contributed in meaningful ways, creating a balance of effort and reward. The quiet rhythm of living together, learning from one another, and supporting one another became a central pattern of life, a rhythm that shaped not only survival, but also the earliest sense of community and shared purpose. Conflict, though rare, was gently managed within early communities. Disagreements over food, space, or movement were navigated through subtle cues, patience, and shared understanding. Dominance was not always enforced through aggression. Often it was guided by experience, age, or knowledge of the land. This quiet negotiation ensured that the group remained cohesive, that every member felt seen and valued, and that cooperation remained the dominant rhythm of life. The ability to resolve tension without chaos reinforced a sense of calm and security, making community living sustainable and enduring. Even rest and sleep were shaped by community. Nights were spent close together, sharing warmth, shelter, and vigilance. One member's quiet breath could be felt as reassurance, a reminder that no one was entirely alone in the darkness. The presence of others allowed for deeper, more peaceful rest, as threats could be anticipated collectively rather than individually. In this way, cooperation extended into every aspect of daily life: movement, work, learning, and even sleep, creating a rhythm that balanced effort and safety, attention and calm, individuality and unity. As we drift back from this world of shared labor, gentle observation, and quiet vigilance, we can imagine early humans moving together across forests, plains, and river valleys. Each careful step, each shared morsel, and each subtle gesture reinforced the bonds of community. The rhythm of cooperation shaped not only survival, but also identity, trust, and understanding. And now, as we rest and let sleep settle gently over the mind, We carry with us the calm lessons of early community life, that together humans could endure more, move more safely, and experience a quiet sense of belonging, even in a world both vast and unpredictable. As the sun dips below the horizon, the world of early humans transforms. Shadows stretch across the land, and the gentle hush of night begins to settle. The air cools, and the sounds of the day, rustling leaves, distant calls of animals, and the quiet movement of the group, soften into a calm rhythm. Nightfall was both a challenge and a comfort. Darkness carried unknown dangers, yet it also offered rest, reflection, and the opportunity to feel the presence of companions more keenly. The sky above, now dark and vast, began to reveal countless stars, each one a silent witness to the quiet lives unfolding beneath them. As humans settled in for the night, they sought safety and warmth together. Small clusters huddled near embers from fires or in the shelter of natural formations. The presence of others brought comfort. Even the simplest proximity reduced fear of the unknown. Eyes could close more easily, muscles could relax, and the mind could drift into quiet contemplation. Nightfall became a time to observe, remember, and share, often in whispers or gentle gestures. The rhythm of dusk, cooling air, the fading glow of fire, the rising of stars, provided a natural cue to slow down, breathe, and transition from the busy activity of the day to a restful stillness. The night was also a teacher, imparting lessons in patience, attentiveness, and connection. Sounds carried farther, scents shifted, and movements became subtle and deliberate. Humans learned to move carefully in the dark, to listen for danger, and to notice the quiet signs of safety. The interplay of shadow and light, of silence and sound, created a heightened awareness that demanded calm focus. Yet in this focus, there was also a gentle ease, a natural rhythm that prepared the mind and body for rest. Nightfall, with its cool air and twinkling stars, became both a boundary and a bridge. A boundary from the day's work, and a bridge into the restorative calm of sleep. As darkness deepened, the rhythm of the group slowed further. Movements became softer, voices quieter, and attention shifted inward. The stars above twinkled faintly, offering a sense of permanence and calm, a gentle reminder of the vast world beyond immediate concerns. Early humans likely took moments to simply sit or lie, feeling the cool earth beneath them and the warmth of companions nearby. Each breath, each subtle movement, was a part of the slow cadence of night. Even without words, there was communication and presence, the reassurance of shared space, the comfort of proximity, and the quiet bond that connected them to one another in ways that words could never fully capture. Nightfall also encouraged reflection and memory. The day's efforts, gathering, foraging, observing, and learning, were quietly reviewed in the mind. Which areas yielded the best food? Where had danger been most likely? How had the group cooperate most effectively? These reflections were gentle, unobtrusive, and naturally integrated into the calm of evening. Even without conscious thought, the experiences of the day settled into the mind, forming patterns and instincts that would guide the next day's decisions. In this way, night became a bridge between action and understanding, between experience and wisdom, a quiet teacher beneath the stars. Sleep, when it came, was framed by the natural world. The gentle sounds of wind through leaves, the distant calls of nocturnal animals, and the warmth of bodies pressed together created a cocoon of safety. Even in the absence of fire, the human mind found reassurance in the presence of others and in the familiarity of the landscape. Each night, early humans experienced a quiet, restorative cycle that strengthened body, mind, and social bonds alike. Nightfall became a rhythm, predictable and calming, marking the transition from activity to rest, from curiosity and exploration to reflection and renewal. The night was also a teacher of patience and quiet awareness. Shadows shifted slowly across the land, and subtle sounds carried messages if one listened closely. Early humans learned to distinguish between harmless rustlings and the subtle approach of potential threats. Every whisper of wind, every distant rustle, became a gentle lesson in attention and mindfulness. This quiet observation trained the senses, making each member more attuned to the environment without raising alarm. In these subtle, slow experiences, humans honed instincts that were essential for survival, while simultaneously cultivating a calm, meditative state of mind that prepared them for sleep. Even simple actions became significant in the evening. Tending a dying ember, shifting slightly to share warmth, or softly communicating a warning reinforced the bonds within the group. Each act, performed without haste, carried a sense of purpose and care. Early humans experienced firsthand that survival was not only about strength or skill, it was also about empathy, cooperation, and quiet attention to the needs of others. Nightfall thus became a mirror of daily life, a time when care, patience, and connection were emphasized over haste, teaching lessons that would ripple across generations. The stars above, ever present and vast, inspired a subtle sense of wonder. Early humans may have lifted their gaze from time to time, noticing the constellations, the movement of the moon, and the gentle shimmer of the Milky Way. These quiet observations offered perspective, a reminder of the larger world beyond immediate concerns. In the stillness of night, under the endless sky, the mind could drift freely, weaving imagination with memory and slowly preparing for rest. Nightfall, with its calm and quiet, provided not only safety and warmth, but also a gentle space for contemplation and dreamlike reflection. As the night deepened, a gentle rhythm settled over the group. Breathing slowed, bodies relaxed, and even the quiet movements of the forest seemed to mirror the stillness below. Early humans learned to find comfort in repetition, the same stars rising, the same winds rustling through familiar leaves, the same gentle presence of companions nearby. Each of these small certainties offered reassurance and a sense of continuity. In this calm, predictable pattern, the mind could finally let go of the day's vigilance, allowing sleep to slowly take hold, like a soft tide washing over every muscle and thought. The shared experience of nightfall also strengthened the sense of belonging. Even in darkness, there was connection through touch, warmth, and subtle sounds. The group rested as one, yet each individual felt part of a larger whole, a living web of interdependence and care. In this peaceful state, early humans could drift into dreams with a quiet heart, knowing that the community around them offered safety, reassurance, and companionship. Nightfall became not only a time of rest, but also a gentle lesson in trust, harmony, and the quiet power of togetherness. And now, as we let our eyes close and the mind begins to drift, we carry with us the calm lessons of prehistory. The day's journey, from gathering roots and berries, to observing predators, to sharing warmth under the stars, settles softly into memory. We leave behind the demands of modern life and step into the gentle, enduring rhythms of the past. Breathe slowly. Feel the presence of companions. Imagine the stars above, and let the quiet harmony of early humans' nights lull you into rest. Sleep comes easily now, as natural and gentle as the rise of the moon and the whisper of the wind. Let your mind wander among the soft shadows, the flickering embers, and the distant stars, carrying with you the peace of a world long ago, where life moved slowly, carefully, and calmly, just as you drift now into dreams.